Okay, so we'll do it in English, which I think it's also better, that it gives a better flow for me to not being interrupted by you all the time. And then, as you said, just if you have any questions during my presentation, like if you don't understand what I'm saying or have a professional question to whatever I'm showing, please interrupt. I much rather have a discussion than you wait with all your questions to afterwards. So whatever you feel like it, just interrupt me and we'll talk about whatever is on your mind. My name is Niels. I'm from Copenhagen in Denmark, and I work with cycling for like the last 10 years or so for different companies. And you may be aware of that it's a normal thing to cycle in Denmark, so it's not like strange things to have worked with it 10 years ago. Nobody else was doing it. It was a pretty normal thing. I started out working for the railways, the state's railways, on their planning department, and did cycling in combination with public transport. How to bring bikes inside the trains and how to do things. I will mention it later on. And then I moved on to work for the city of Copenhagen, the municipality. They in 2007 they decided they had a brand. They wanted to become the world's best cycling city by 2015, which is a bit more than a year from now on. And it's not like it's a FIFA World Cup thing, so we will have a competition with the Dutch and see if we actually are number one in the world. But it was a sort of a high aiming target to become that. And then the city decided to form a sub-office only with cycling. So they brought in people from other places and formed that office to promote cycling. And I became in charge of the bicycle parking part of it, and then joined the city. And after doing that for 4 years or so, I went to an ordinary, normal, big consultancy, big buildings, a lot of people, engineers and stuff. I'm not an engineer, by the way. It was a misfix. I didn't really fit in there. It was a total different ball game, big airports and funny stuff. So then I left them and I formed my own company. And I do the same thing during those 10 years, developing, but it's still cycling. Now it's just my company instead of somebody else's company, really. So that was the version of it. I have to say probably that the company is a member of the Danish Cycling Embassy, which is an organization that tries to assist nationally, but also internationally, like being here in this case together with the foreign minister, then to promote cycling and spread the word of how we do things. So, and today's topic is the bicycle parking and public transport, and of course it's a question that you probably know the answer of. Yes, it is important, but it can be done in so many different ways, and I'll try and touch different subjects on the parking and the combination of transport, as I mentioned, and then see, I'm trying to hopefully I can inspire you for the workshop and like how can things be done, and maybe there's some things that you can use in your work. Because if it's not, my question was if it's important, and it is important because otherwise we end up with these. I think actually this picture is from somewhere in Latin America, by the way. I can't remember the city. So if you don't want to end in this place, and I think you realize that you don't want to end there. That's why you started your program with mobility and focusing on designing the street for pedestrians and cyclists in order not to become a city like this. So I think it's very important to realize, like, I was told you have 2.5% modal split. It's a good start. You did this for 2 or 3 years or so. So you got a momentum, which is really, really good. But you also have to remember that, as I said, like every bike ride starts and ends with a parked bike. So either way in the system, it's like a car, really. Like you need to have somewhere where you start your trip, and when you go to office, school, wherever you go, there also needs to be a place for your bicycle. I know it's different with the Bikeshare system. We have the docking station, but if you did it, if you one day you come to a place where you actually have the personal bike, then you need it. And I know that the task for today was bigger areas for parking. I'm probably going to change that a little bit and more focusing on the smaller scales, because I think it's really important. If it's going to be a system that is really convenient for the cyclist, it needs to be where the cyclists are and not where you think you want to have them. I know you have troubles with vandalism and theft and all these things. We've got to deal with that, with the likability and stuff. But I think there's no way in my culture that I'm going to accept walking 5 blocks from a stationary unit to where I need to be. No way. I want to be, within 50 meters or so of my destination, of the door out here if I went on bike today. So it's really important to keep in mind, like, you have 2.5% now, and that maybe is equal of what? 10,000 on bicycles. So how many people is that? But if that doubles, you've got the double amount of people that you need to cater for. You have to accommodate And as this thing, like you can have them in really orderly fashion ways, in big numbers, with racks. But if you don't provide them, this is a metro station, the entrance is just next here, people just put their bikes there anyway. That's how we do it, because we don't have the vandalism. Well, we have, but it's not the same issues as you do. So I cannot prevent people from doing this. They want to be there, because down here they take the stairs and they go into the metro and they get on to work. So that's just the reality that we deal with, that, people will go where they need to go. And I think that's good. I mean, I wouldn't fight it. If I was you and you get sorted out with theft and all these things, just be happy with this. I mean, this is much better than not having cyclists, really. It's a good thing. But we need to provide with them, help them with bicycle racks. But it's good they're there. And I think you shouldn't fight it. You should try and solve the problems where they actually are. I usually say, like, bicycle parking is really not rocket science. You go on the street. I know it's different again with where people put the bike. But if you go on the street, you can see what the needs is. If there's bikes hanging around the trees and the light posts here, apparently somebody wants to be at that position with a bike. So maybe that could be 5 bikes hanging around there. Maybe that's the right spot to put a little one up with 10 units or whatever you could do there. And then if the space permitting, all these things. But it's not really that technical or academic to see where the needs are. So I mean, keep it simple and try and try and keep it simple, and just it's logical, really, like where the needs are when it comes to the bikes. And it's every single place with bicycles, being here, being in Europe or wherever, has a different solution. I mean, this would be a typical square in Denmark, which looks like this: racks and people can ride bikes. This will be a metro station, which is not even full. We try to put it close to the interchange with the bus there. So it's just, I think you can have I could say this is the right way to do it, but I think it might not be the right way here. So it's a matter of, for you, I think, to look at solutions from, as you will do these days with the Dutch and the Danes, and then try and make it a Buenos Aires design way of what will work for you here, because it's so different. Like I could have taken another picture that was where it would be packed with bikes in another way. It's every situation really. It's a unique thing. So you need to be specific for the place where you are. And you can also use bicycle parking as a way of adjusting behavior and make it so it's part of the street. I think this is actually a nice story that this street is in Copenhagen, in my city, the capital, and they had a problem with this street that people were going very fast at night. So then the city said, okay, to the road engineers, you need to find a way, make a speed bump. You need to do something to slow traffic because people are going fast. And this is a nightlight area, so a lot of pedestrians, drunk and crossing. So it's a bit of a dangerous situation. And the engineers, good people, they went, they looked, and they did this narrowing the street, but not this part. They just did the narrowing, and they walked away. Problem solved. They did their job. They did a good job. Cars were slowing because they have to pass each other, and it's narrow. So problem solved. Check. They got the heads up for the bus, but that was it. They left it. And what I think is interesting, this is then this just became dead space. It was there. It has one purpose: to serve lowering speed for cars. I think what is interesting, if you can use your space wiser. I mean, you have big roads and avenues and everything, but you don't have unlimited amount of space on your street. So you need to use this. What you do need to be, you need to use your space in a clever way. So I happened to come by with a colleague 2 years later. We had a project for the whole region, the whole local area to put up more bicycle parking. And then we walked by this and we saw this dead area, as I called it, just lying there and not serving the other purpose. And then we measured it and we figured out we had a trouble. Then it fits in today. There's 30 bicycle parking racks there instead of having only the speed reducing things. And then it's an issue with bicycles here and would they collapse? Would they go into each other? But it's a design thing that they are angled, so you'll be forced to look that way towards the cyclist. So it hasn't been any problems with collisions or anything. So it worked, and I think it's a good example that you, instead of just work together, not being one office doing safety, one office doing bikes, one doing the buses, but also come across, because if they took me on that trip, the engineers, we could have maybe come up with that solution the first time. I've done it instead of they solving their problem, then I can go and solve my issues afterwards. So just an example of trying to make things combine the different professionalities you have in your city office, instead of just having, I don't know how it works, but if it's trying to solve these boundaries, and I think it's space optimizing. Instead of I had to find that space, those square meters somewhere else, they were for grab there, they were for free in the city. It's another example. It's actually the street here. It was actually done as a test, but it's a way of creating street life. It was a two-way street with buses. Then we made it a one-way street and took away the bus, so the bus runs in the street one further down, one block down. And then suddenly we had space for parking, and you could and cafes could put out tables here, and suddenly it became a much more livable street, which was so much nicer. There's a lot of small design shops and small cafes, so it's a place where you want to be slow and you want to look into the basements for see what's on sale there, or the cafes. And suddenly you could do that. And the thing we did was instead of the city planning everything, we went to every shop owner and said, we're going to do this, and you will have some space outside your shop now. You can do whatever you want with it. You could put tables, as long as you stay inside the line. You can put tables if you're a cafe. You can put a rack with the dresses you're selling, or whatever you want to display to people walking there. And of course the shops were like, oh, they get sort of, the shop got bigger because they could suddenly use the space there. And it only had to, again, this is paint, so it wasn't even expensive. And it only took us, the signage to do it one way, and then instead of the bus going in and out here, it went on another street one block down. So it didn't create a lot of change really, but it provided a street that is much more nice and livable to be in with very small incremental changes. Really, it's not a big plan. We didn't have to plan it for years. So just and the shops find out themselves. Okay, I got this space. Some of the shops don't use it. It's just there. Then people place their bicycles, and some really took benefit of that. So you see it as also the cycling also as a tool of creating life in your streets. I touched a little bit with the dead area and the speed bump. I think it's a really important thing to think it in as a multifunctional thing, instead of just thinking one solution, as again, the engineer can do this, I can do that. Think things as a combination. This last summer, not this previous one, a year and a half ago, we did this just as a summer event. On a square, and we chose some young design students and said, okay, give you some space in the city and you can go play, and then end up. This is it's obviously a bench, and then you hang your bicycle. It's just a gimmick. It was just there for 2 months, but the signal, I think it's an important signal that you can have both. We went to the science faculty yesterday, and they also, some of we were talking about this, and trying to combine things, and they were designing bicycle racks, but maybe that bicycle rack can serve another purpose as well. So in this case, I think what I like with this is, like, if it's not, but let's say this is my bike. To get my bike off there, I need to ask this guy, could you move a little bit so I can get my bike? So you get to interact, instead of we always sometimes, in my culture, if you sit in the bus, you don't talk with the guy next door. You just, you mind your own business. It's not very, in that way, open. So, but in this way, we create a contact. We talk to each other, and maybe maybe you just move and no talking, but we'll get an opportunity to be social and to interact, and maybe you smile and you walk home. It's fine. So I think I like these kind of things where you can multifunctional. Again, this is actually even better. I haven't done that, but I think this is really a good example. This serves so many purposes. This is a school. This is a playground. So usually you do a playground. I see that here as well. You put a fence around it because the kids don't run into the traffic. So you need a fence. Then you also need somewhere for the parents to sit and watch the kids. So that's the bench. And then you also think, okay, in this case we want people to ride their bike over there. So we also need some space to put up the bicycle parking. What they did here, this served for 3 purposes. It's a little fence so the kids don't run too fast away. They have to jump over it. It also serves as a bench. I can sit there, watch the kids, and we can park our bikes at the same place. So you have 3 purposes for the space use of one thing. I think that's, again, instead of we doing something here, something there, whatever, if you can think about how products and designs can interact, so you get the multifunctional issue out of one thing. I've seen examples, I think they're Dutch actually, where it's a bench, and then you can park your bike from the ends inside the bench, so it just slides in from the side. And then you go there on a bike, you sit, and you have your bike next door. You don't even have to lock it because you're there. So I think, try and think these multifunctionalities into your concepts and your designs. And you can save space, and it's just more practical, really. You don't have to take up all, make everything somewhere else. Blah. And none of you have any questions? Okay, I'll go on. Flex parking is probably not something that you're going to end up using for the next couple of years, but it might be useful at some time. Again, think new solution instead of just... I was just happy somebody wanted to ask a question, so I took the opportunity. Más tranquil? I will try. I tend to speak fast, but I will try. Bueno, flex parking. As I said, it's probably not a thing that you should have on your agenda right now, but again, I think it's important to think differently and alternatively instead of just saying, okay, we put up bicycle paths, we do bicycle racks, everything's good. I developed this concept in 2008 or 9. And the whole idea was that we have so many places in the city where, there are tons of bicycles, but there's also a lot of cars. This is a residential area, so people get home from work at nighttime, they're driving. It's one of the better areas. And so people are wealthy and they got cars and they want to park. So instead of saying, okay, like this is the discussion you have here as well, can we take away space for cars? Yeah, you can, and you should. You should do that. You should push that. But instead of doing it, you can also, in this case, my idea was, instead of saying either way, like either this space is for car or either it's for bike, we can do both, we can combine them. So the whole idea is that it's a school, so what do kids do? They come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and they leave 4 or 5, and after daycare, they go home. So what happens? Hundreds of bikes are there in the morning, packing these things, blocking the sideways all over the place. But then when there's a mess and the cars, and what happens is, then I thought, okay, but they leave at 4 or 5, and then the car drivers. So I could have done just putting racks up, like the one we saw in Palermo yesterday, where you take away the car space, and I could put racks up. But that would mean bicycle parking 24 hours a day, but they don't need it for 24 hours, just need it for the school time. And exactly when the parents are got it out, the car drivers, they get home at nighttime, that's what they need it. So we had an opposite time slot, that daytime, high need for bicycles, evenings, high need for car parking. So instead of saying either way, we could do both. So I'm usually saying this is not a perfect solution, but maybe it's 80% good for the cyclists because they don't get a stand, they don't have a rack, they need to use the kickstand to self-balance it, and they can't lock it to anything. But that's what they get. So it's not 100% good, but it's okay. The car drivers, they have to not use this, they have to leave in the morning before 7 because it's for the bikes, so they don't get 100% free access to this area. They just have to deal with it. Like you have time limitation on everything, so they deal with it. So, and it actually works. We did it, and it turned out to be not. We don't have reports on conflicts that the bikes were there, and sometimes there's been a situation where I wear a bicycle at the night time because some kid maybe forgot his bicycle or went to play with a friend and forgot all about his bike. What kids do. But it hasn't created any problem because in the nighttime it's free. The one at this is racks on the building. They're gone, so I'm pretty sure the car drivers would just move those bikes 2 meters across the sidewalk and then park their car, no problems. There's also been examples where at 7 o'clock in the morning, a car was still there. The guy maybe he was sick during the night and he slept over and he didn't move his car. What happened is the kids are actually clever. You wonder sometimes, but they are actually. Sometimes they're stupid. But anyway, sorry. No, what they do, they arrive in the morning and they start piling up on the facade because they got a rack. When that is full, they start, let's say it's 7:50 now, it wouldn't be that picture, but the car's still there. They were just clever enough to put their bikes in the other end because it's still in front of the school. And when we never saw a car later than 7:22, and then it fitted up, and then when he moved, the last spots were full up anyway with bike. So it sort of worked organically, and people were working with it. We communicated very strongly to the kids through the school, but the teachers informed them, saying, okay, this system will only work if you work with us, if you put your bike this way. You're not helping your fellow students because you take up space and makes problems. So we were very strong in communicating with them. We told the parents, if this is going to work, you need to, and you don't have it, you need to put a kickstand. Buy a kickstand and put it on your kid's bike. Otherwise, you can't use the system. So when we communicate to the people living in the area by flyers and information, we're there 3 days to talk with them and tell them, yeah, this is only going to work if you have both parties, kids and grown-ups, you have to respect these hours. Otherwise, it won't work. If you don't do that, I can do two things. I can go back to normal, take all the blue stuff away, and you don't have any place to put your bike. Or I can put up bike racks, and you don't have any place to park your car at night time. So it's up to you to make it work. I guess you're thinking that you can't do this here because you can't lock the bike to anything or something. But it's just a concept of trying to use your space cleverly, and then maybe it doesn't have to be one thing, but you can do different things with the same space. And it worked that well that I just prepared 4 more places in Copenhagen for having this concept installed. 4 other schools will have it later on, because it worked and it doesn't have any problems with conflicts and stuff. So anyway, for us, it's provided a solution for a situation. I promised somebody that I made a car also, so that's my car. It's a bit different from the car that you have, the yellow one in Palermo, but yeah, it's a design object. Obviously, we made it. The reason why we made it so strong and shaped like a car is that we needed really to send a strong message to the political side of it, that we need to take away car parking in order to provide for cyclists. So that's why I could have shaped it like whatever, but we thought that we had, it sort of symbolizes, it's the same size of a car, and you take that away and you put another type of car in there. So I think it's a strong message, like you have it with the yellow one in Palermo. But what we have is, we have a lot of those cargo bikes. You carry your kids and stuff in there. We actually have 30,000 of them. It's a lot actually. And the most important thing is actually that households with kids, if they have 2 kids or more, 25% has a cargo bike. And if you ask them, some of the families have the cargo bike instead of a car, or at least instead of the second car, because it's provided the same space. Usually, some people, when I joked about it, they said like they can almost store more in this than those small micro cars that people are riding nowadays. So they fulfill a need for people, and they don't need that space in a car. So for the city, it's important because this takes up, as I said, a factor 4. So you can have 4 cargo bikes here instead of 1 car. So it takes less space in the city. So as a city, if we can have people bringing their kids or groceries, or if you have a small shop, if you have a craftsman shop, maybe it's not heavy stuff you have. You go and change the light bulbs. You don't need too much things. You can have it in one of those. And we see this in Europe now that more and more small businesses also starting selling their cars and has cargo bike instead, because they save money. They don't have to pay for parking all around the city. It's faster to go around for them, and they have enough space here to carry light bulb, whatever they need. So it's actually a good business case also for them to do that, and for the city, of course, it's better to have them riding those than small trucks around the city. So we made this statement. This is a higher income area, so we knew if we did it pink there, they will be really, really angry. So they got the green one, and this is the trendy area, so they got the pink one. And we did this as a prototype thing that I invited families. So I had in 4 families, 1 family had its own room and a key, and then they could use it to store their bike. And then they did diaries, and I interview them like how it's working, is it good? Because what they really need is the theft and weather protection, because the bikes are quite expensive, $2,000 or something. So people take good care of it compared to a normal 2-wheel bike. So that's what they need. They want to have it protected for those matters. And what we did is we got all the political attention. This came on a lot of design blogs and blah blah blah. So we got a lot of attention to it, but it also gave us the room to show the political system that we need this, and we can, like with the yellow one, as you also put on it, 10 bikes instead of 1 car. In this case, it's 4 for 1 because it's bigger, but it's still a strong message. Yeah, we take away something. Like people can say, you take away car parking, and where can I park in car? Yes, but I make 4 other types of traffic people park there. car or bicycle or whatever. So I think it's, you have a strong argument that, I take something away, but I give more back. I think that's also a good thing. And it actually leads to, right now I'm writing on a tender material on behalf of the city of Copenhagen to make a tender for a new bicycle, cargo bike parking solution. And it won't be like this. It will be a more normal industrial product that we can produce in hundreds of them, and they're on the shelf, and we just go and place them. So, but the knowledge we got from this, we can build on for a normal industrial product that will eventually come out next year or something.
A question on the cargo bike.
Yeah.
Did you do any policy to promote cargo bikes, or it just happened after people started to buy?
Yeah, I think it started by itself, and now it's a thing for the city. Like, I think when I did this we had 20,000 of them. 2 years later, we had 30,000, and it's a growing number. So it's sort of works its own way. But then it's often now with the city, if they do right now they do a competition in my neighborhood. Like they have a competition, well, not a competition, but a branding, marketing thing where they say, like, this neighborhood, if you do 3,000 trips in October on bikes all together, use a Momondo tracking app so they can see it on the website, we give you a free cargo bike for the neighborhood. And I live in a small neighborhood of British row houses, so it's like a little bit of it's high, and it's very, you know you're there. It's nothing else looks like those houses around it, so it's like a little village in the city. So it's very defined. So we can do, and I know all the people, a lot of people, so we can talk together and we try and, we can win this. So we will have that as if we're not going to win it because people are lazy, but so I don't think we're winning, unless they biked all that week when I lost. But we was like on 1,500 trips when I left or something. But then we could have this together, so it's also a way of pushing it for the city, like then we get one as a gift, and that's also advertisement for the city. But they don't push it, it's not like they don't subsidize them saying, okay, if you buy it, you can get it cheap or anything. But you say indirectly they subsidize, if companies are using them, they don't have to pay for the parking fees, so in a way, it makes it attractive.
Parking fee?
Sorry?
So what did you say about the companies and the parking fee?
I said more and more companies are using those for going around and do their business, and they can park wherever because it's a bicycle. They don't have to pay. So instead of having a van that only contains one light bulb to go somewhere, they go with that, and they can park. They just place it and do their work. So it's not advertised or subsidized in any way. Well, I should speak about Danish things, but then I jumped in. Danish cycling is respective for heritage. I think you have heritage here as well. You have all the old colonial buildings and French and Spanish styles, like things you want to preserve instead of having just modern buildings. Same thing goes with London. So my point with bringing this in is actually that I think I mentioned it in the beginning also. Like you can look to Denmark or you look to the Netherlands and say, okay, they do this, we can copy that. But I think it has to be in respect of your local culture and your heritage and how you do things. There's definitely things I do that you think is not good here. Fair enough. So you have to meld it and work with it to make it yours. So I just took this as an example. I had it's called the Crown Estate. It's the Queen Foundation that in the UK that owns a lot of buildings and roads. She happens to own Regent Street, which is one of the most posh high streets in London. And the client, the Crown Estate, approached me and said, we want you to do cycling infrastructure. And they said, no paint. Okay, no blue, funny stuff. Okay, fair enough, no paint. And then they kind of implied to me that if I could do it invisible, that would be really, really nice. We want it, but not really want it. Okay, so fine. So, okay, yeah, I can do that. Right. So I flew over. Regent Street is a mile long, 1.5 kilometers long. So I walked it up and down in the British rain for a day. I was like, okay, I can do invisible, yeah, right. Why did I accept this assignment? But it actually, I could do a lot of small things in the side road, putting up small Sheffield racks, like the one you have here, you lean your bike to it, but they're not invisible. And they usually, we saw some nice ones at the design center, but usually they're not really nice. It's like, and I understand, they're not nice. And I said, okay, how to do it invisible? And suddenly I came across these light posts and the phone booth and the little bit, and everything they have on this is called Westminster Abbey. This is like an area called Westminster, and they use these two shapes as the shield, as the sign, the logo they have. And I looked at it and said, this is a perfectly shaped Sheffield type bicycle rack, right? You have connection to the ground, you can lean it, you have all these places where you can lock your bike. And I thought, they have it all over. Everything is black and gold. Even, this is typically red in the UK. They even made that in gold and black because that's what they do in Westminster. So I thought, if I designed it, if I copy this and make it either black or gold, it's almost invisible because it's mingled into the things. Now this is a mock-up, but you have this whole line of things that is in the same design line. In my opinion, that is as visible as it gets. I mean, I can't make it more invisible than this because it's just, it's camouflage. It's made into the whole concept of the street. So that was my suggestion. Then it went into politics, and they never did it. So maybe it wasn't invisible enough, but I think I did my job anyway, because I think this is a solution where it is, as I said, almost invisible to my, you can't make it more. I could do it transparent maybe, but I think that was a good example. Again, if you have something which is your heritage, make it your way of design instead of just buying whatever is on the market. I also suggested them because I had the flex parking thing that was at the same time. I thought, okay, no paint, so what to do? Then I just made a model where you could have this area and small LED lights in the ground and a symbol of a bike. And then it could, because they have in the daytime when the shops are open, they have a lot of pedestrians, so they want to have a flow of pedestrians, so you could turn off the lights. At nighttime, there are restaurants and bars and not so many pedestrians. Maybe they wanted to have the bicycle, so it could be switched on at night and then have a sort of a defined area lighting and say this is like for the bikes. Again, politics, so the whole project was scrapped and they just look like this still. But again, taking into account what culture and what heritage you're present in. And then you can also brand your city. I'm sure you do that with especially with the yellow bike in Palermo and these things. But you can send statements. I think it's important. I think we had a discussion also, like the Dutch and the Danes usually have a little bit of a joke, like who's the best in the world in cycling, and we can discuss that. As it's not like a World Cup. We're not going to play and then see who wins. So you can find parameters where we're really good and where they are even better on other parameters. So I think what Denmark is really good at is we brag a lot, which can't be seen as a negative thing. But if we do stuff, we also tell people that we do it. Like if we do things, we'll make sure that neighbors and people living in the city will know, like with the branding and make sure that make a small event about it and stuff. And you can also this is a sister city of Copenhagen, which is Frederiksberg. It's an independent municipality, but it's an island within the city, so it's kind of it's a little bit technical. So I provided them with these racks in it's winter, snow, last winter. A year ago, actually, I think it was. We've got a winter now. And it's FRB, which is short for Frederiksberg, and then they use a heart on their website and logo stuff, and then the heart. Simple thing, but it sends a message out to the cities, and maybe people pass this and smile a little bit, and this is new and funny. So you give sort of a little treatment to people walking instead of just seeing the same racks over and over again. Copenhagen just bought something similar, obviously not with FRB, but with another message and they're mobile, so you can move them around for events and put them up. If you have a little concert in a park, you put them at the entrance and have people parking their bicycles there. And it gives brand value, like you do something extraordinary, just take it a little bit out of the context. Bikeshare, which you have here, and as I understood, you're expanding it to a new system. I'm not sure I'm going to touch it too much, but we're getting a new system in Denmark, and it's whatever it is. But I think it's you should treat it and see it as an alternative to the bicycle parking that's just a private run where you have my own bike, and everything is a park bike really. So whether you park it in a rack or in a Bikeshare docking station, it's still a park bike. So it's just another way of thinking bicycle parking and providing it. And again, it's a matter of the density of the grid, so how far do I have to go for stations, and you're expanding the numbers of stations, which is important, so you get a tighter grid. But again, it's a service that you can provide people, and I don't want to talk. You have a system, so there's no need so much to talk about it. But it solves one of your problems, of course, with theft, because if you have a new system which is strong on the lockability, and you take I think what's good, can be good for you in this case, is that you take away the personal risk. I mean, as a citizen, I'm not getting my bike stolen. It's the city's bike that gets stolen. So as a citizen, you take responsibility on behalf of your citizens, which is good. So I think that can be an important thing for you if you have this trouble with getting people on their own bikes because they think they get stolen all the time. Then you will bear the responsibility because this is your bike, so you will have to pay the bill, and that's in a good way because then it might be more attractive for your citizens to ride bicycles. And by having them by traffic hubs, bus hubs, and train station, you eliminate some of the problems with bringing bicycles on public transport that I'm also going to touch, because that was one of the subjects I think you wanted to hear about. Because that's also a solution. You can also have people bring their bicycles inside the trains, inside the buses, or outside, whatever, and go with them. But of course, it has a limitation. Like, how many bikes can you fit into a bus? How many, and passengers? How many can be in a train wagon? So it has its limitations, but it's a good thing to offer. You have to be aware what you do, because the funny thing is, like, when I worked for the railways, they had a curfew. You couldn't bring your bicycle in rush hour, only outside rush hour, because space. But that was stupid, because usually it was like all the people going in everyday bicycle, maybe they had a flat tire, or the rain one day, they wanted to be able to get into a train and save their journey. And you couldn't do that because they were on the way home for office, is always in rush hour, right? So we made a testing thing that how would it influence the traffic and regularity, and would trains be delayed if we open it up in the rush hour. So we did a lot of testing and measured how much time does it take to get in and out of a train with a bike, and then if that 10 bikes, does it have any influence? And then it ended up that we recommended the board that it could be done. So they did it. We opened it up for the curfew, we took it away, so you could 24 hour a day bring your bicycle. And it became a huge success. People were, the rise of bicycles in the trains were enormous, and it was like, everybody's happy. We had to redesign a lot of the inside. In here, there's small racks where you put your bike, or you can sit there if there's no bikes. That was in the beginning, and then we had to do this, so to make it a flow, you go in this way, go out the other way, because otherwise it was a big mess. And with all the testing, we also talked to people, are you afraid of being dirty with the bike next to you, and however people thought about it. And then DSB, they ruined the whole project. I left at that point. But anyway, they thought it was such a good success, so they want to be so nice to the people that they made it free. Before, it cost around $1.50 to bring your bicycle on. That was half of what it cost to go on a personal ride. So they did it for free. They opened it up, said, no, it's free. Should never have done that. Then it exploded one more, and now it's actually a problem. Like, now it's congestion, and it influenced regularity, because now sometimes you can hardly get into the wagons because so many bikes in there. And it's not because people got lazy, then okay, I don't have to bike anymore. Which is, the offer is there. You gave something to the public, and everybody's happy. It's a rainy day, you go there. So my point is that when you do stuff, you also have to think of good and bad consequences, because this is such a good thing. It's so nice that they made it free, right? I want free stuff. Hey, I'm happy. Everybody's happy. You can't take it away again. You can't tell people, no, now you have to pay $2. But they will be upset. So when you give it out for free, that's what you do. You can't change that, really. That would be bad publicity. So you have to think consequences instead of saying, oh, we want to be nice. Yeah, but okay, what happens then if we double? Like, it's the same thing. If you double your motor split for 2.5 to 5, what happens? What happens in your parking solutions? What happens on the street? You have very narrow. It's fine. You have narrow bicycle path. What happens if the most busy place you have is 6,000 rides a day? What happens if that doubles to 12? You got a capacity thing. You need to be ahead of that. And before you're promoting it, we have the best bike ride over here. But does it have the design for 12,000, the double amount of cyclists? If it doesn't, you have to be prepared for a bad experience for people, and suddenly it's all jammed up with cyclists. Same thing happened here. So you can have. I think you should work up the possibilities to bring bicycles on trains, on buses, but you just have to be. Don't do the same thing. Maybe it could be free here. I'm not saying that, but you have to think about consequences and designs of. And it costs money. Do you have to redesign everything? And just think it through. Then it can work. And I like it's a nice service. If I'm out biking, suddenly I have a flat tire, it's rained. where's the nearest train station? And you go, it's nice.
And when the parking, every parking place is for free, the ones that the city provides for bicycles?
Yeah, it's at some train stations, which is it's like here. The train station has the area around the station, and they control that, the DSB, the railways. And then outside is the city or the government areas. And on most of the city train lines, like the metro lines, has an area where, I will show you a picture later, where you can, it's inside like a cage, and then you have, if you pay a fee, you can have a key card that gives you, then you can go in there and have your bike in there. But it's usually, 10 years ago, it was, they had a strategy that any station should have this lockable area. But what happened is people didn't want to do it. It was before internet was really big, so it was impractical. You have to go in person to obtain the membership. So nobody did it. So you had this area, but no bikes in there really. So they took out the doors and the locks, because it was better to have it full with bike instead of just empty, right? So it hasn't really, we don't have a tradition opposed to the Netherlands, but they have a lot of biking facilities where you pay to park. So we don't have that tradition. We don't do it. It's for free. Oh, I changed. I just stumbled over this last week. It's a study from the University of Newcastle in Great Britain. It's just also because you have the thing with the theft thing. I mean, you can do campaigns. What I think was kind of funny, like this campaign worked. Apparently, they had this poster where they were watching the thief, and it happened that bicycle theft really dropped when he was watching you, but then they just went somewhere else and stole bikes. So it's just apparently there's a need for stealing bikes, and I go somewhere else. The same happens, like you have some campaigns for speeding. Then they put up a carbon figure of a police officer standing on the road. People go slower, and they'll probably speed somewhere else, right? You can shuffle around with it. So I'm not saying you can't work with bike theft and luck and all the things, but it's kind of funny that apparently they even got more stolen bikes afterwards, 1%. But it's just funny that the thief goes over in the other corner. So if you're watching for pickpockets, they'll just pick somebody else's pocket apparently. So I think that was kind of a running thing also. But then we get on to the lockability, which is one of the themes also. And I saw this at some square the other day. It's one of the not so nicely designed ones, but that's what bicycle racks, shuffle racks are. And then you can, it's hard to say, this is the cage where you can pay, and then you have the access to go in there and place your bike. But you still, if I also have a membership, I can also go in there, so you still lock your bike in there, but it's of course more protective. But I don't like them, they look awful. And you can do small things. This is a hook that just gives you a possibility to lock it onto. I think this is one of the rather nicest design, but people don't get it. It's maybe it's hard to say. Well, a difference is like most of us in my country, when we lock our bike, we just have this little thing around the back wheel, so we just slide it inside the wheel here, and it's locked. But you can carry the bike away. But I think in the States they call it a cafe lock, which is kind of nice. Go and you go fast into a cafe. But what they did, this is a train station in Odense. It's the third biggest city we have. There's a little plate here, has the logo of the city on it, and then this is a wire, so it goes down to the ground when it's not in use. And the thing up here is shaped like a key, like this key for the city, like a symbol for you being welcome in the city. So you can lift it, and then the key, of course, has this is like the key. So you can connect the key before you slide in this one that locks, and then it's locked to the ground. Of course, if you have a tool, you can cut it. That happened. Some of them were cut, but it provides you with the lockability. And maybe it needs to be like this thick, the wire, next time, because you need a bigger cutter. But anyway, it provides you with something, and it's still also thought about design-wise, that it's not in the way of anything. It's there, and if you want to, you can lift it. Simple thing, but again, I'm not saying this is the right system or this is the right system for you, but it's just things that you can work with in order to lock the bike to something solid. Or you can have a system like now it's like a little. We're getting more and more advanced. So it's like you can have the bring it down to earth, shuffle rack, lean it, lock it, fine. This is actually in the Netherlands. I was there 2 months ago. I saw this system. you know, in theory it's nice. You slide your bike in to the system here. You place your car, and it locks around this thing, and it's connected there. And I think it was pretty difficult to use, but it provides you with the safety that now that your bike is locked to something really, really solid, and only with your key code thing you can obtain your bike again. Then this is from had a prize in a bicycle parking competition in Hong Kong a year ago or something. And it's just, I'm not saying this system is the right one, just an example again. You can provide things where then you place your bike and the system makes this one slide into, and then secure your bikes to this. If it reds, it's easy to see from a long distance. If it's a big area, it's taken. It's green, you can go there and you can start your bike in. So it's just inspiration for technical issues. You know, smartphones nowadays, you can do unlocking, you can use smartphones for operating all these things. So it's just, I mean, there's so many possibilities. Really, it's a matter of what you want and how much money you're willing to spend. I mean, this is probably not wouldn't be cheap to buy, I think, but maybe that's what you need in order to provide so much safety that that people are willing to bike on their own bikes. So it's all a matter of the levels you think you need to protect things. You know, I would love to be involved in developing this. It would be good fun, but I'm not. You know, it's how many can you do? Like if you end up having 100,000 people on bikes, can you provide this all over the city? You need to have 150,000 of those scattered around. Probably not, right? So. Or you can go, it's also Holland. I swore when I prepared I wouldn't say nothing about Holland, and I now did it a few times, so I'm sorry.
That's why we don't have to do our own marketing.
Yeah, I do the marketing. I paid by the Dutch government to market Dutch cycling infrastructure. Could be the next business case. Okay, anyway. No, just, this is sort of the valid parking thing, like somebody's really taking good care of you. Like the thing you have with your Bikeshare. I would say that is valid parking. I have a person there that actually takes care of the city, the Bikeshare, but you have somebody servicing you. So they do a lot of underground stuff where you have direct access to the platforms where the train leaves, and you pay there, and there's a guy there actually, he's there, he makes sure I don't steal your bike, and so it's really, it provides you with a value. It costs money to park there, but it's like probably the most safe you can go because somebody's actually sitting and watching your bike literally. So and you can't go in there without a ticket and all these things. So that's we went from the very basic Sheffield thing where you could log it to, and then you could do. And then when I got here, I understood the situation where you have difficulties working with the railways, and so this is probably not possible underneath the platforms as the situation is here now. But it's just to show the different levels of possibilities. And this is actually, I think this is my last slide. This is probably, I don't know how long I went babbling. But this has nothing basically to do with parking. I just shuffled this in yesterday because I didn't want to, it was irrelevant to parking. But I think what you could do also, now we're back in branding. Now we're back in my home court. You can do all these things. Like I'm impressed. We've done a lot of really good stuff in a short while, which is good. You have the momentum, you need to keep going. And I notice also I think it's also, then you come to a point where you also need to treat the cyclist nice, give them small treat. Like the branding bicycle thing with the logo, parking, for Frederiksberg. Like do small things that shows the cyclist that the city cares for them. You like your cyclist, you appreciate the people who bikes. So you can do these things for very little money compared to hardcore infrastructure engineering stuff. So this is a wheel gutter that makes you slide your bike down the stairs. But normally you would have them, but then it's like this, and you have to bend your bike, and it's kind of. Then this is Sweden. Actually, they just angled it a little bit, so now you can actually walk pretty easy with your bike. A little thing makes a big difference for the cyclist who has to push the bike up there. Small things again, water things that provide you with the possibility of getting water. You have. I saw this one place where you the repair stand and outside one of the where the faculty for law is, I think it is, but it's ruined. Somebody vandalized it, all the tools are gone. You need to keep things up, because if it's just getting worn out, people don't respect it anymore. So you need to be having a budget that also provides you. Maybe you have to replace those tools 5 times before people respect it. But you have to have that in mind, that you cannot just put it there and go away and everybody's happy. You need to be, have it up and running all the time, and it takes efforts and it takes money, but it's really important. Then we do small funny stuff like this litter bin, totally normal with litter bin, but it's bended and it's towards the cyclist direction. So when I come there with my banana shield, I can just easily drop it. When we did this, when I worked with it in the beginning, I wanted to have it like, you play darts, you get bullseye and whatever. I wanted to have it like a shooting thing, so you can get got a 5 today, I do better tomorrow. But it was too complicated and it took too much space, so we ended up with this. But anyway, we have footrests. You can say, okay, there's a red light, you put your foot down. How hard is it? You can do that. But sometimes you've got snow, sometimes you've got rain. But it just provides you with a little bit of extra comfort. And you're there and you say, this is cool, I got this. The car driver, you don't. Yeah, you don't have this one. So, and it gives the opportunity for the city to communicate. So this is say, hi cyclists, thank you for cycling in our city. Or we can put a thing down saying, okay, next week we have an excitement exhibition, or whatever. You can communicate to your citizens while they are in the street in a nicely discreet way. Air pumps, bicycle counters, they got really popular around the world the last couple of years. And I installed the 2 first ones we got in Copenhagen here, and then on another street, which is the busiest street we have in Northern Europe. I think it's 36,000 cyclists passing it every day, so it's a big number. This is the yearly total and the day. And when I did this, they're not cheap. You have to maintain it and stuff. It's not cheap. But when I did it, a lot of people said, "Yes, do you really think that we should spend all that money? No. Do you think people will start biking because you do this?" And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. It's not like you sit on the couch at home or in your big SUV. I think, they have a counter. I will start biking, right? You don't sit on your couch and then go and buy a bicycle. You start biking because you do this. But what happened? Because I was like, yeah, we do it and see how it goes. What happened was that I was surprised for how many people who actually were very happy and noticed it, and on blogs and stuff, and people were saying like, I can't help it, I go this way every day and I have to look what number I am today, and a lot of people leave the office at the same time every day, so they were like, and then they said it was funny for them, sometimes they left an hour later and to see what number they were, today they got a round figure, I'm number 5,000 or something, like funny stuff. So it happened. What happens is, what I think happens with these things is that it makes you actually see when you pass it, before you pass it, you see the digits move, so you actually see you personally being counted for, and that I think that creates a sense in people. I'm important. I'm part of this. You have this space with 6,000 people. You could place it there, of course, and suddenly it appears to car drivers and cyclists. And there's people around you biking, but you have no idea if it's 6,000 or 200 or whatever. Suddenly you see you're part of a movement, you're part of something else, and I think it creates it feels good. Like we're in it together, and the car drivers like, 6,000, I'm impressed. So I think it's a really strong tool and message you can send to both the car drivers and the cyclists, and also politically you can go and show. It's a good photo opportunity. He can be the first. The mayor can be the first one passing. And what I did actually was kind of funny. Just got to think about it. The other one with the busiest street. A month before it was there for a year, I looked at the numbers. And it turned out to be, in a month's time, it would have hit 10 million cyclists in that year. And we are a bit more than 5 million people in Denmark. So I thought, it almost equals twice the Danish population. So I worked for the city at the time. I went to my boss and said, I want to throw a birthday party. Okay, congratulations. How old are you now? No, that's not for me. I want to have money to have a celebration at the location. And where we have a bike stand, it has, the 15th of June, I think it was, it's 1 year old. We need to have a birthday party. I'm like, no, that's stupid. No, okay. So he gave me 2,000 euros, and I bought 2,500 apples, printed out small paper bags with a message to the cyclists. Again, we use this logo for everything we do with the bikes. And I said, congratulations. So we made it, I congratulated the cyclists, so it says something like, congratulations cyclists, you're part of this. Did you know that twice Denmark's population have biked beside this? So it's a congratulations to the people. And then for 2,000 euros, we got to deliver these 2,500 apples to people passing. A lot of them stopped and had a discussion. Oh, that's so great what you do. So you got a chance to communicate directly to the citizens and come with a strong message. So we were, we hired people to be there, and so people were ready to discuss with people. So you got what I think by doing this for 2,000. In this case, it's like pocket money really. But you got to speak to those people. If they all go home and speak at least to 2 or 3 other people, I had this funny thing on the way home. They gave me an apple and some stickers and a bag, and they was like, did you know there's 10 million, two times the population part? Oh. So you get all these people to tell good stories about what you do for your city for almost free. I mean, I couldn't get advertisement space. I mean, for that money, there's no way I could get so much good publicity for so little money. And it turned out to get 30 seconds on national news at night and written articles or whatever. So, it's money well spent if you do it. So my point is just like, you should celebrate. If you do cool stuff, you should also, tell the story. I think that's important. I forgot one thing also, I'll do it for the last slide. This is my contact information. I also placed my business card and a flyer that explains a little bit in English about some of the projects I've done. Some of them, of course, mentioned here already. So this also contains my information. So maybe, if you have questions now, but maybe things popped up next week or something, feel free to drop me a mail. Yeah, I have nothing more to say. So, I'm quite disappointed with the level of questioning.
What was the status of the transport system in the city when you started with the bicycle? Both public and private transport system?
What do you mean with status?
How did it work?
Well, I think it worked well at the time, and we had before we really started in 2007. We still have high numbers of cyclists also, and Copenhagen is it's a compact city, so it doesn't have the same congestion problems that many other big cities have. So we're not at a point where the city is packed with cars. The ownership of cars in Copenhagen is not very high compared to many other countries either. So you could say we have an easier background to work with, and culture also is different. Like it's not a status symbol for me. You could be a millionaire and not having a car, because it's not a thing that we need. I mean, I live in the city. All my things is basically within 5 kilometers. Why should I drive a car? I can do it faster. So and then we have always had the red trains going in. So and buses. So I think we already always had a decent public system also, and there's been space enough for that and space enough for private cars also. So it's I would say what we do now is sometimes double the width of the cycle track, taking away space for cars and make even more space. Like 4.5 meters, we can do our path in one way to make it really a highway for the cyclist. And I think so I just see this as an add-on. It's not like we don't want the car, but we need to control it and limit it, and we have the bus and everything. So this is just an extra thing that we can provide the city with and the citizens. So it's not like it wasn't a big problem before that we really have to work with to solve it. It's been balanced.
I really like the bicycle stand, which was basically just the steel rope which you could push along. Do you have any feedback on how that works? Is it a large, because I can really see that it's just an open square as well.
Yeah.
What I really liked in your presentation is that you talked about how you can combine, or how you cope with the fact that it sometimes has to be a parking space, but other times it's just a public space and you want it to be completely gone. And this seems like the ideal solution.
You meant the key you left up?
Just lift it up.
What actually happens is they did some surveys when they went there and counted 100 bikes and how many bikes are using it, cyclists are using it, and not a lot are using it. And I have never seen any explanation or questionnaire of like, why didn't you use it? But it's interesting because they didn't. It's another city. They didn't really do a lot of branding about it or camp. If I did that project,
Where was it?
it's in Odense, third biggest city. And I think they have it at another place also, can't remember. But if I did that, I would make a funny event out of it, having people standing doing this with them or so, whatever. In a few days, create some kind of attention to it. I think a lot of people in stress, they don't see it. They just get the bike and get on with the train. So it's not being used. It might be 20% using them out of the capacity.
Maybe combine it also because putting something up from the ground is not so nice.
No, yeah.
If you press it with your feet.
Yeah, and you can work with those designs. That's a good thing. We discussed design yesterday. Sometimes also designers and the city want to develop everything from scratch. You want something really, but sometimes you just a little bit change like this. Like you have a product which you design and you think it's good, but have a new idea that could, as you said, there could be something you push and then it comes up to you, so you don't have to do the bend. Maybe so sometimes also think this is a good thing, but we can just change it a little bit. It's even better instead of saying we need to design everything from zero. So just take small steps, because then, as you see a product and you have an idea to make it even better, which is then we all is growing, right? Okay. Anyway, there's the workshop thing, and if anything, if you have questions later on when you have thoughts comes into your mind or whatever, feel free to ask me. Again, you can also email, and if there's something that comes to your mind later on.
Another question: do you have some specific advice for Buenos Aires? Is there anything you notice that you feel would be the most suitable here, or is specific to this city? Or maybe specific to the different locations you saw in the city? Is there something you would...
I think, as I mentioned, I think that the scope of the presentation from before I went was the big parking units that you sort of were interested in getting. But I think by being here, and also as I mentioned in the presentation, I think you need to, you can do big things, but right now you don't have that many bikes, so how big is big for you? What do you really need? So I think it's more important to think, like with the docking station for your bike share, to think the close grid, make smaller units, but make more of them, small corners like the Palermo we went through yesterday, with the side out, people are sitting outside in small cafes. It's really great if you can go there, park your bike, move 10 minutes to the side, and sit and have your coffee and meet your friends. So it's big, it's becoming an extension to what you do instead of being something complicated. And so I think keep it simple maybe, and say okay, small units around the place instead of doing very advanced, big constructions that you need to do for. I think it might be an overkill. So maybe try and work with small units, small streets, and make them workable. You have the grid now with the bicycle path. Obviously, that's where people go to bicycle. So where do they want to get off the bike is where you want to help them out with the parking solution. So, yeah.
Did you measure the impact of the counter, the bicycle counter?
The impact if more people biked?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's very stable numbers there, but it's again, I don't think that anyone, as I mentioned, will start biking because it's there. But it shows you, it pampers for the cyclist. What happens is actually a few people more will pass. I heard stories where people say sometimes when they go, they get an idea. I'll just do that little detour just to pass the counter. So that will count for that. But it's not like we get more people cycling in itself. So it's not. It has a mobile connection, so we can get the numbers in there, per hour if you wanted to, so you can see all these things. But it's not like we're following it. We do a lot of counting to see if we have now it's stable, but we measure our modal split, and then so we count the whole city, but it's not specific that we follow that specific place. It's so busy anyway, so 1,000 more or less doesn't matter.
They already have a high amount of people, right?
Yeah, we have right now I think it's 38% of every trip. Also, people living outside. Everybody who's commuting into the city for work or education go by bike. And if you look at people living inside the city of Copenhagen, it's 50%. But the other number is you could live 200 kilometers away, so everybody counts. So then it's 38.
I was thinking that in a place where the riding is not so high, maybe that kind of social impact can help to increase.
Yeah, I'm sure. If you had this at the busy one here with the 6,000, get a lot of attention, and people, you could probably see a gain because of the news. People will think it was funny to go there and they want to test it. So you will have probably a high impact the first 2 months, and then maybe it'll stabilize again.
How is the city working with bicycles, motor bicycles and bicycles that do have like a small electric engine. How
Yeah, the mopeds, like small scooters. There's two rules. It's European Union regulations.
Yeah.
They are either called moped 25. That means they don't have a number plate and they can go under 25 kilometers, and then they're allowed to be on the cycle path.
And
if they're above that, they need to be treated as a car on the road.
And they can go under 25 with any assistance of the person. I mean, you don't need to pedal.
Well, if it's a motor, if it's a scooter, it's totally with the motor. If it's an e-bike, electrical bike, by rules, by law in the European Union, we cannot have an electrical bike that works with the motor without you pedal.
Okay.
So it's automatically you need to pedal, and it can only assist you up to 25 kilometers. Then the system has to switch off. So it's not becoming a very fast unit. It's helping you, but it's not. You have to pedal yourself also in order to make it work.
And here, what is happening is that many people, because of traffic jams, they are moving from cars to motorcycles.
Yeah.
Do you have that same difficulty?
I think I don't know the ownership of motorcycles, but it's not very high. I mean, it's become popular for especially mid-aged guys. Well, you know, in the 50s, they want to realize reinvent themselves. The kids move from home, they buy a big one, and they go in the countryside. You know, have money from their house or whatever, and they do that stuff. But in the cities, I don't know the numbers for motorbikes, but it's not high. It's not high.
Do you know why?
I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, I don't know if it's tradition. I don't know. It's tradition, weather. I don't know whether we bike, but I have no clue. It's just not a big thing, motorbikes really. But scooters has gained numbers.
All scooters is the same.
I think it's. I mean, in the 70s, it was very popular to have scooters, and then it died out totally, and now it's on the rise again. And there's a segment of young people, certain segment of the young population that think it's cool. I think, and they ride those. They tend to be also on a bit of an aggressive side. I think it's a mental thing. Like, I don't know. I don't have the scientific answer for it.
And do you have any, or how the rain and the snow affects the bike rider?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we do have snow. It's not really. I mean, a lot of people think that is a really, really heavy snow. We don't. You know, a normal winter, sometimes it could be 4 times over, especially when you live in the city, because of the heating of the city, it's more rain and stuff instead of heavy snow. But we sometimes, you know, you have snow, but as a program, the city has a program for winter for clearings, and we have a priority. A lot of the cycle track will be cleared for snow before the road, so you can actually go in the morning, and you wake up in the morning and it's like this much snow maybe one day. You can go on a totally black asphalt stretch for cyclists, and you look into the cars which still is in the snow and going very slow. So that's also a way. I mean, you prioritize. As a city, you show which person you know they are important. We want to treat these people nice. So it's
before than for buses.
Sorry.
So you prioritize the bicycles than a bus.
Yeah, our buses usually run on the same road space that all the other cars and stuff does. We have a few designated lanes, but not like the 9th of July Avenue. So they run in the same traffic. But the state run rate, the roads that the state has another priority. So there's also municipality roads, state roads, and local roads. So the local roads and the municipality roads is the municipality area, and they decide to clean cycle paths and pedestrian areas before the cars.
And with rain?
It's not bad. It's not like a monsoon thing that heavy. I mean, it rains a lot, and then people just dress up in some rain gear and they go. Or sometimes you just bring dry clothes and you change at the workplace or something. It's or wait 5 minutes and the shower is over and you go.
So you don't see a decline?
Yeah, you can see. Well, we have figures for Copenhagen. Like if everybody who cycles in the summertime, 80% of them cycle all year round. So there's a little drop in wintertime, 80.
Okay.
So a little drop for the amount of cyclists in summertime to wintertime. And then you can see if it's a really, really, really heavy. We had some bad winters over the last couple of years. Then it's lower. It may go down to 70 or something. But they come back in the spring again. So it's going like this. Apparently we need to go. Have you explained that? Like, that we have to go?
Yes,
Okay.
they explained that, but I don't know if you want to leave them with something for the workshops.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that I have to leave. I'm sorry about that. And I will come back. We discussed a little bit at the lunch here today. Do you think can you run that?
I don't know if the plans are here and we would like to work on the parking facility.
Yeah, the idea was for the workshop really that that the city gives us some maps of the location where you think it should be. You could work with these things, and then I thought it would be interesting for you to. Maybe you come from offices so you can split up so you don't sit with your normal colleague in a group. Maybe it should be 5 groups or something, share. And then you can mix it up so you have this thing with having the traffic guy and the safety person. And so you mix things up. And maybe you can work concrete on solutions at certain spots where you think you could work with solutions. But I don't know, it's just, I don't know the city, so I can't point a place where you can, but you have maps, right, that you can work with?
There are all these maps outside.
That's the map.
No,
You hopefully better skills. Wait.
This has all the bike lanes, so I think this might be a good way to start. You can see where the bike lanes are.
Yes, we do. We have.
No, but the maps of the area, for example, of Retiro to.
Yes.
You need to zoom in on a street corner you want to work with, and then try and make a solution there for how it could be, in order to. But inspiration, of course, it should be connected to the path.
And will we have Neil back to see?
As fast as possible, I've been told. I have to run, and I run back.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll send him back as fast as possible. So.
Si quieren, yo intento.
Sorry about that.
Ahora